Hey there, balanced lady bosses. This is Stacy, and welcome to another episode of the Balanced Lady Boss Show. Here on the Lady Boss Show, we title our episodes epics, and that's because they are always epic conversations with some epic people. And today is no different. I'm so pleased to be joined by Ty Heath, who is a director at LinkedIn, one of my now favorite companies. Like, I've kind of been on the inside and I checked it out, and I actually really admire LinkedIn as a technology company. And she's joining us from her very busy and active schedule in New York. And I am just really psyched about having Ty on because I truly admire her as a woman who is just like shaking it down in the tech space. And not only is she shaking it down from a career perspective, but she manages to keep a sense of community focus that I've found to be really aspirational and inspirational. And in particular, has taken on an initiative around supporting women in the space of their career and of growth under the umbrella Transform Her. And so, Ty, you're just like super fabulous, and I can't wait to hear your journey and your story. And welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm a massive Stacy fan too, so it's a mutual admiration society.
Nice, nice. So, Miss Ty, LinkedIn, I won't say it kind of snuck onto the radar, but LinkedIn has become one of the giants in the space. And when I saw the move where Microsoft was purchasing LinkedIn, I was like, yep, it's about to go down, because yes, you could see the strategy, kind of being formulated. So in a lot of my listeners' minds, LinkedIn is one of those companies that you really have the dream of working for. How did you because you clearly didn't wake up one day and said, yeah, I'm going to go work at LinkedIn. Like, how did you arrive inside of those doors? And then how did you, navigate that ladder or lattice, or however you've been kind of maneuvering through your journey?
Yeah, so LinkedIn has always been one of my favorite social networks. I mean, I don't know very many, for other people, maybe it's like Facebook or Instagram, but for me, it was always LinkedIn. Like from years ago, I was on the platform.
Yes.
And I think I just appreciated that people are there to build, there to invest, there to connect.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it as a place of opportunity. And of course, I enjoy spending time on other networks as well. But when I'm on LinkedIn, I'm there to spend time and also to invest time as well. So the journey to LinkedIn, I think for me, was like a bunch of serendipitous moments.
Oh, aren't those the best?
Because when I graduated from college, I thought I was going to go into politics. So I went to Georgetown University, and I was in Washington, D.C., and I was like, okay, I will be maybe an ambassador. I studied econ. I was like, let's do this. But I was also running track at Georgetown. And by the time I graduated, I was a top ranked 800-meter runner. So that actually, at that point, I decided, like, when else in your life do you have a chance to try out for the Olympic Games? So I actually decided to take a shot, and I moved out to California, the Bay Area, to train with the Nike farm team over at Stanford University. So that plopped me right in the center of Silicon Valley during a time when tech was like really rising, moving quickly. At the time, Google was just like 4 buildings at that point, and LinkedIn was like right next door. So I wasn't even thinking about tech at all, but then was dropped into this like Silicon Valley vibe. And, over the course of my career, I've just been fascinated by the capacity of tech to scale a message, to move people, to transform. I think that's why I've been so interested in it, because like politics, it's like moving people. It's about transformation. And with tech, I saw an opportunity for how you do that at scale. And what attracted me to LinkedIn specifically was the work that they're doing around moving things at scale. There's an initiative called the Economic Graph, And that's an initiative to map, it's like a global map, a digital map of the global economy, rather. So like all the jobs, all the people, all the universities, all the companies. And with that data, you can see where talent is flowing. You can see what skills are on the rise, what skills are on the decline, how people move from point A to point B. And that's why LinkedIn's been working with, you know, organizations like the World Bank and the World Economic Forum, so that we can have a more informed public discourse about how to move things forward. I was like, this is amazing.
Wow.
So wanted to be a part of that.
Like you brought the work that you were doing that you thought was going to put you in politics actually still ended up serving you, but in the technology space, which is very cool. Very, very cool. Okay.
It's been a journey, and it's been a lot of fun. Challenging, but fun, I would say.
Wow. Wow. Okay. And, you know, interestingly, one of the things that and how I actually came to know you was through your speaking. So you've done quite a bit of speaking, and you also have a bit of marketing genius in your blood, or your work career DNA, so to speak. How did that become a part of, you know, who Ty is as a professional? Did you just naturally, was it serendipitous in the way that, you know, you kind of wound up in the middle of Silicon Valley and then, you know, were able to kind of step into a tech experience? Did you just wind up on a stage somewhere and then just
magically on stage? No. No. That's the interesting thing about anyone's journey. It's like building blocks, brick on brick on brick. You know, one thing leads to another thing, and if you just keep showing up consistently, you one day you're like, look at where I was and here's where I am now. But in terms of like the marketing story, so one of my first jobs was working at Google in biz dev. So it was an early career journey in biz dev, and then I worked in Google AdSense, and then I moved over to AdWords, which is Google's advertising product. And something clicked for me when I was there, because in terms of marketing, because I think marketers have a responsibility and a power that they may not be connected to. And it's the power of words. It's the power of messages to move people. And I know I referenced this earlier, but when you think about it, we're surrounded by marketing messages and messages in general that socialize us. It's cultural currency. Marketers choose what stories to tell, what stories not to tell, what people to amplify. And I think there's a huge responsibility that comes with that. And I think that more marketers should be connected to that power that we have, and then also the responsibility that comes with it. So that's been fascinating for me. And so that led me from Google AdWords to then going to get my MBA to study marketing strategy, launching an agency while I was in the MBA program, running that for 3.5 years. And then ultimately I realized what I enjoyed most about marketing and digital and tech was the investigation of it, the research, the teaching, the speaking, using the words to move people. So my first role at LinkedIn was actually educating agency and partner customers on B2B marketing strategy. And from there, we founded the B2B Institute two years ago now, it's a think tank focused on accelerating business to business relationships. I get to work with practitioners and academics to explore how marketing can create more value. So that brings me to a lot of stages. I really enjoy it, and I enjoy it because you get to move people, and you know, I'm so connected to the power of words, and I believe, like, if you have a message, like, share it, you know, bring it to life.
Yes, no, I'm really getting that. And I think the way that you said that tech allows us to share messages at scale, you know, and there is both power as well as some paralysis in that, right? Because, you know,
Oh
you're
yeah.
seeing a lot of the stuff now with the movie, That Social Network, that came out, and just all the conversations, all the lawsuits, like it's just kind of crazy what's happening. And so I also like what you said about LinkedIn, is where you can go and invest time. You know, it's not just hang out and, you know, and be fed by the feed, but it's really investing time in yourself. And I think maybe that's also where LinkedIn Learning came from, because clearly it was, if people are going to be spending time on a network, let's help them, let's expand their knowledge, you know, let this be something that is worthwhile for them, and also a win for us, because we get to harvest that information that can again be put back into the community. So it's a very well thought through strategy, from at least from where I sit. I think it's really cool.
You know, you're absolutely, and that's, I mean, that is another thing that compelled. I was like, LinkedIn, I see what you're trying to do here. I see what you're doing. You know, when they acquired Linda, you know, years back, and then pulled it into LinkedIn, I just saw how they are committed to helping people get from point A to point B, and sort of transform themselves, invest in themselves, build their business, connect with people. So that to me has been, you know, a driving factor for my work, and why I continue to stay. LinkedIn's vision is economic opportunity for global professionals, and making people be more productive and successful is the mission of LinkedIn.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of cool to be a part of something like that. You know, economic empowerment, that economic power, that became a huge conversation during the midst of COVID and all the things that were happening with the Black Lives Matter movement. It was just a lot of economic empowerment. What's your economic power? You know, like having that kind of discussion. And for me, even as a Black woman, an entrepreneur and executive, doing all the different things, I was like, you know, well, do I have my own pie? Where is my pie? How am I nurturing my economic power? You know, it really got me facing myself in a new way.
Right.
And yeah, kind of analyzing how my day-to-day activity is supporting that. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I would love to see more. And that's part of the reason for Transform Her and other work that I know we're both passionate about in the space of diversity, inclusion, and equity, because I would like to see more people of color, more underrepresented people investing and then taking advantage of the platform to create opportunity for themselves and for our community to really build that generational wealth.
Yes, no, that's very true. And I'm glad you actually mentioned Transform Her, because we can definitely segue into that. And you know, I don't know that, and maybe it's something that happens with growing up, right? Becoming a real adult, is that I was never the child that was heavy into philanthropy and volunteering. I was just not that child. What has happened, however, since stepping into the space of leadership and sitting on boards, especially government boards and boards for the startup ecosystem in the Caribbean, like once I kind of stepped into that space and I got real clear about inequality and lack of diversity, I was like, hold on a second, you know, what's going on? What's going on here? You know? And so when I saw what you were doing with Transform Her, because of course, once we met at, I think it was Tech Beach Retreat, you were a speaker. And I was really intrigued by what you talked about, and about just checking out LinkedIn. And then I noticed that you were doing Transform Her. And I was like, oh, Transform Her, what is that? Because I'm so heavily focused on women and that whole change mission for women, and working in a way that's actually suited for us as beings, and the way that our bodies are built and our minds are built, and just that whole change mission. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is really cool. Like, how can I help this? How can I be a part of this? So tell us about the vision of Transform Her and, what that movement has been like over the last couple of years.
Yeah. And first, I just taking back to the moment that we met at Tech Beach, like, it was amazing sitting down with you and hearing about your work as well. And I'm so glad that you were able to then come and be a part of Transform Her as a speaker, given what you do and who you are for women. So I just wanted to say that up front. But what Transform Her is, it's an event designed for women of color and active allies in the space of technology to come together, to build stronger networks, connections, to up level together. As women of color, we know in depth about the challenges we face. Like, they're in front of us every single day. And we want to acknowledge those challenges at the event. But what we are trying to do is move beyond those challenges to what are we going to do? How are we now going to invest in ourselves, in our community, as a result of what we've heard? So the content and the speakers, everything is oriented towards action. It's oriented to, how are we going to move things forward? And allies are intentionally a part of that conversation to bring them along on the journey so that they can hear what it's like to stand in our shoes. And so that they can actively invest using their privilege, using their power, and start to break down these status quo constructs that keep us, frankly, as all humanity, from reaching our full potential, because not everyone is at the table.
That's so deep right there, girl. Yes.
So really, I mean, we're going into our 4th year of Transform Her. So 3 years strong. It was founded in 2018. It's grown amazingly. We've hosted it in New York and San Francisco. And then we pivoted to virtual this past year in June. And it was interesting because I think the silver lining of, having to pivot in this pandemic is that we're actually able to reach more people than ever.
Right.
Usually, because we were in a physical location and there's a limit to how many people can actually fit into the building. Right. And it's one of the things that's hard for me is to be like, we are sold out, I'm so sorry. We don't want to ever say that. So, the discovery in being able to pivot to virtual was a bit of a silver lining for us. We're over 102,000 views on the content to date. And our Transform Her LinkedIn group is over 3,000 people, and we're going to continue to grow it. Yeah. Definitely join, by the way, Transform Her group on LinkedIn.
Yes,
if you can't find it, feel free to connect with me and I'll help you find it.
Yes, or me, I'm in it. So make sure, and I actually really appreciate the group because there are some things that will be happening with women of color that I won't have on my radar at all. And then I'll see, oh, okay, this person, has stepped into this role. Like the last post that you did where you shared, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get her for my podcast. Like, hello.
Yes, that's big news. Yes. We like to post wins. So women who are trailblazers, we like to post about, people post this is the event I'm having, or here's my podcast, or here's my thing going. So it's a place for us all to connect and support each other.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And we need that support. I think that's the whole purpose behind this community is to show that there are places and spaces for all of us and that there is no one construct. I can't tell you, I've interviewed CEOs and chief science officers, and just this past week I had a psychotherapist astrologer who started a practice, and she had to fight a whole bunch of stigma around associating astrology with her. It's just so I get a very wide variety, and the whole point of the conversations is to show that there is no one path. I mean, you talked about, I didn't know that you tried, you decided you were going to, hey, I'm going to go try it for the Olympics. That's huge.
Use the New York siren, by the way. It's part of the
part of the atmosphere. We're live in New York City. right, live in New York City right now. Yeah, and I actually had an Olympic athlete on last month who
Mm,
suffered from a brain aneurysm and had to quit, and now is helping athletes. So it's just,
right.
we bring such a different layer of creativity and insights to leadership and to being boss. And I really want for this community, similar to how for the Transform Her community, to understand that it doesn't have to look one way.
It does not.
And there is so much space for that to take up, because there's a big gap still. There's still a big gap in the earlier constructs versus being able to create a kaleidoscope of how we show up as women in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So yay, Transform Her. Good luck with this
Yes.
year.
Thank you. Stay tuned. March 2021 is what we're looking at.
Okay, maybe this year will be hybrid. Maybe it'll be some in person and.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, we are right now. We're planning virtual for the main thing, but we're also launching a concept called Transform Her Salons. So my hope is, hopefully, after we emerge from this pandemic, we will start to be able to be in the same spaces with each other again.
No, exceptional. I love that. Congrats, and I wish it well. Now, so clearly you're bossing the boardroom, right? And I'm loving that. And this show has 3 core focus areas: boardroom, bedroom, bliss. And in the bedroom space, Ty, I know that from an intimate relationship standpoint, you are very much anchored around your family. I don't think I've ever talked with you and you're not like meeting up with your mom, or something is happening in that family space. And that's how you kind of reconnect with Jamaica as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you find time? Like, how do you do that? Like, where do you find time?
I miss my family. So my family is in Jamaica. We've got family in Old Harbor, Spanish Town, in St. Elizabeth, in Great Bay, Treasure Beach. I miss I would have been in Jamaica several times already this year. So, yeah. Hope to get back there in 2021, obviously. But my mom and I are incredibly close. My dad and I also have a great close relationship. And, I think what I'm connected to is that time is our most precious resource. And, I had a sister that passed away when I was 16. So that became very, very real for me. Just kind of recognizing that you don't always know when someone is not going to be a part of your life anymore, and to really treasure people while you have them there, and to like really look at how you can invest in experiences rather than things with those people. So one of the things my mom and I started doing together, we weren't able to do it obviously this year because of the pandemic, but we had planned to. We did end up going to London together, but we had to cancel the rest of our trip because of COVID. But making memories together is really, really, really important. Having stories to tell, remembering history. So I love hearing my dad talk about his college days at University of West Indies, and I just want to know everything about them. I think it's important to capture the history in those moments.
No, that's very true. And I'm actually really happy that you shared that, because when people hear me talk about bedroom, and a couple of the episodes that are coming up, we talk about different dynamics of bedroom, right? So it's intimate relationships, involve love partners like spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, involves family, parents. The parent relationship is so critical, and for many people actually becomes a huge part of where their life, energy, and time is spent. And then children, especially these days, we're getting real close to our kids of late, whether we want to or not. It's all of these things, these relationships, these intimate spaces that are really close to us impact who we are as leaders and as women in positions of influence. And thank you so much for sharing about the passing of your sibling, because I've often, that's the biggest fear I think any parent has, losing a child. And I do have girlfriends that have also lost siblings when they were younger. And it is a life-changing experience, actually. It does shift you, like almost like your soul shifts, you know? So
you grow up real fast.
yeah,
Real fast. Yeah.
The reality of life is just like, okay, right there in your face kind of thing. So that's exceptional. Thanks for sharing that. And so you sound like you really had a strong foundation in your parents, which a lot of people don't have, you know. So you're very blessed.
I am blessed. I am grateful for it. I also have a younger sister who's like 9 years younger than me. That I'm like a second mom to. She lives in Brooklyn, and I'm so proud of her.
Oh, nice.
So proud of her.
Nice. So then at least you have, and I think even now, especially in the pandemic, having those close ties that you can have in your kind of germ bubble, you know, you can make your germ bubble and you pick who's in it, you know, being able to have some family close to you is really awesome. So thank you for sharing that so much. So we know that you make time for family, because that's a big deal. How about that self-care and self-love, you know? How is Ty, like, you know, chilling out? Christmases are coming. We're gonna unplug. I'm really struggling with the unplug. Like, even just day to day, like leaving my laptop and not, oh, just finish this one thing. Oh gosh, I forgot this other one thing. How are we doing, Ty?
You know, it's a mountain with no top. I would say there's a journey that we're all on around being able to fully unplug. But yes, I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and I was telling her, okay, so we have time off, so now I can do all of these other things. And then she was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is the value of having like good friends who can tell you about yourself. Yep. She was like, so you're gonna work more over this holiday. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Because it is so important that we unplug. Because when you're in it all the time, like the ideas don't come. You know, you can't rejuvenate. Like, you know, you get the feeling like the weekend is never long enough for you to fully be ready. And for us to be ready to take on what we want to take on next year, we have to rest. It is as important as the work that we're doing to take that time. So I did tell my friend, I said, okay, I'm going to put a box around it. I'm going to do one day of just shoring up some stuff so I feel good and like everything is kind of set. And then I'm really going to unplug. And, you know, during this time, we've all had to sort of find maybe new ways to unwind, because we can't travel or go out or do like things like that. So I love reading. I love writing, especially like just over the summer in particular, and fall, just being able to process what's going on with the social justice and just like writing has helped me really think through and you know, get some of the stress and some of the like the emotion out onto paper. So that's been helpful for me. Working out. So, you know, I ran track and field, so I got to keep doing it. I got to keep running and like working out. Meditation. I've picked up meditation twice a day. And then of course, dancing, you know, you got to put on some like dance hall and just kind of like
check it out.
Even if it's by yourself, like it's fine. Just do that.
No, that's great. I love, you know, I actually really enjoy dancing. And I remember when the pandemic hit, I actually went online and I was like, I'm going to do dancing for my cardio. And I found this app where you basically get, like, you pay a subscription and you get taught different dance moves. Because, you know, they got all the popping and locking stuff that's happening now, girl. So I was like, yes, this is going to be where I'm going to spend my energy and my time and just doing, you know, like different things like that. You know, take a dance hall class, because it's all virtual now. So you can pop in and pop out and do that stuff. So I find dancing to actually be a space that is quite fun, as well as, you know, takes your mind off of stuff and just makes you feel like, you know, your boss self kind of thing. So.
Absolutely. And I have to give a shout out to Brookwine.
Ah,
Anyone's looking for a dance class that's focused on like reggae and soca and Afro beats, like it's great. Brookline.
nice. Is that led by a young woman?
Tavia and Tamara
Okay.
are the two women
Okay.
who host it.
Okay. Shout out Brooklyn. I'm gonna have to go look it
Yeah,
up. Maybe
check
then
it out.
check it out. Now, in the space of what's next, because you have just so many, you have such a wide variety of things that are on your plate. Um, do you still dream about other, like, is there ever is there a point where, because you've already published a book, I heard you talk about writing. I'm like hoping that maybe there's another book coming.
You are psychic, perhaps. Then yes, that is the case. I am writing another book, and goal is 2021. It will be about leadership. It will be about marketing, and also at the intersection of diversity. Kind of a variety show of a book. I'm excited about it. And part of what I want to do over this next period of time is actually go, because I hear, the writing process. A lot of authors talk about how they sort of lock themselves in a cabin somewhere and like
Yeah.
get it done. So I'm trying to think about how I make the space, the creative space, to do that. And so that is definitely on the list. I want to, when we can all gather again, I would love to get together with other women who have creative projects in mind and just spend time in a space, sort of jamming on ideas and supporting each other. That is a goal for me. I don't know if it's a retreat of some kind, but I love the idea of that. And maybe it'll be in Jamaica. Who knows? I am really. I mean, I think this year has been a year of reflection. It's been a year of like investing in growth, because the distractions have sort of been taken away. There's not like the traveling, or sort of like the numbing of like not being able to deal with what the things we need to deal with, the inner work that we need to do.
Yes.
So I am looking forward to, I guess, capitalizing on that inner work that I've been doing, and pouring it into a book, pouring it into other people and communities.
Yeah.
So very excited about that.
No, excellent. I'm excited about that too, because I think, especially now, what I found myself wanting a physical book more. Like I actually go through phases of, well, it's kind of a stuck phase now. Like I want a physical book, and so I just finished reading a book called Wintering. I actually had the author on the podcast. Her episode is coming up in January, and she was talking about what happens when life seems frozen. Now, this book launched in February, so right before the pandemic, and I'm like, well, hello then, in the UK, and she just started her US tour right before the holidays. So I was talking to her when she was just coming off of that tour, and I was thinking to myself, isn't it kind of serendipitous how you wrote this book and then the whole world froze, So I think there's so much available to us to put out in words, So when you talked about words and language and being able to impact our culture and our societies through it, I have that physical book, and I feel more like I want a physical book in my hand versus being on my Kindle, which is, I would normally do that, which wasn't a big deal. But no, I'm like trying to be less digital, like less attached to the device.
I mean, there's a thing. It's we have to be responsible with technology.
Yes.
People do get addicted, and we need to be conscious of burnout as well. So that's something I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. I'm doing the same. I'm putting a box around. I mean, all of these networks are tools, and it's about how you use them. But you also want to be conscious of the creative space, the time you invest in yourself and your family and your community as well.
Now, I recently watched you be interviewed by Katie Couric. And, you know, you were so geeked out. It was so fun.
I was. I was like, that's Katie Couric.
Yeah. I have pictures. I have pictures from that. And I'll tell you first what I saw for myself, and then I'll ask you about the experience, because Katie Couric is such an icon, and really a trailblazer in the space of journalism, and one of the first women that you saw do a lot of things. Similarly, I feel that if I end up in a conversation with Oprah, even virtually, I would be totally geeked out by it as well, right?
No question about it.
Yeah. So I'm still that's my big dream. My big dream is Oprah and my intention cards merging somewhere in real life, right?
It will happen. I believe it.
Yes. So what was that like for you, being able to kind of just have a chat with her? And she asked you quite a few questions. So I was like, and your answers, I was like, did she rehearse? Like, did you get the question? It was like you were dropping gems. I was like, what? This is just really, it was really well done.
I wasn't nervous, though. I was definitely like, so yeah, when I heard that Katie Couric was going to be doing the interview, I think I dropped stuff on the floor. I was like, what? She is a trailblazer. She's an icon in the space of journalism. And I mean, I am appreciative of the power of words, and journalists are responsible for asking the questions, for thinking like, what's the question behind the question? It's such an art.
Yes.
And I admire her for the work she's done there. And then to find out that she was a longtime Girl Scout. I was a Girl Scout too, so for a long time. And it definitely instilled in me like some skills, everything from like selling to marketing to like working as a team, the things that like, I think it's important for everyone. I think for young girls, Girl Scouts is a great way to kind of get exposed to that. But anyway, excuse the siren again, but talking with Katie, there are questions around like how we move forward as a community, how we move forward together in the pandemic. To me, it felt like when it comes to sharing, I'm coming from a place of like, how can I be of service? I am also coming from a place of having done inner work on speaking my truth courageously. And that is not an easy thing. It's something I am still working on, because in particular, as a woman of color, sometimes you're the only one in the room in the space of tech. And at this stage of my career, I feel a responsibility for saying the things that need to be said, even if it's hard, even if it's uncomfortable. I just want to use my platform in the strongest way that I can. Yeah. And so it comes from speaking comes from practicing speaking from a place of truth and courage, and connected to the work I'm doing to make sure that I understand I am worthy. What I say matters, and I want that for every woman, every person. Not just every woman, every person, to really be connected to that, because when you're connected to that, you accept yourself for all the good and the not so good, not so perfect.
You face yourself. Really,
you say the things that need to be said authentically when you operate from there. So I know that's maybe a deeper answer than like, what was it like to talk to Katie? But I came into that conversation wanting to make sure that I said the things that I thought people needed to hear in that moment.
Oh, that's like really beautiful. And I think because you had that intention, that definitely came across in the answers. Because as I said, when you opened your mouth, it was like a gems just dropping. I was like, okay, then, we can't all get interviewed by Katie and know what to say, but you did really well. And another thing that came up for me when you actually said, I speak my truth, I choose to speak my truth. And that's actually one of my intention cards.
Oh, hey. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So you
See
can
that?
set an
Yeah.
intention to speak your truth. And the affirmation, because all of them have affirmations at the bottom, the
Mm,
affirmation says, I allow my voice to be heard and take a stand for myself. I speak from my soul and allow this to guide my personality.
love it. Yes, yes. And by the way, it takes work.
Yes.
And I have a great support network. I have a coach.
Mm,
And if I recommend, even if it's your friend who's supporting you, find someone that sees you, for your vulnerability and your power,
mm.
and can just listen and then support you in taking the steps that you need to take, because it's so important,
Yeah.
and I want peace and freedom for everyone to be able to say the things that need to be said.
No, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I mean, we are actually planning a retreat for Q4 next year, a Balanced Lady Boss retreat. Um,
Okay,
it's,
sign me up.
it's more about that unplugging
Mhm.
and really spending time with yourself. So it's like a weekend kind of vibe where women just get together, small group, maybe 20, but it's the work that you can't really do when you're on vacation, but
Yeah.
or almost but not really plugged in. It's that
Mhm.
step away, see myself, cry if I need to, share
Mhm.
space, hold space,
Right.
and connect with each other. So I'll make sure that I keep you on my list.
Yes, reserve a spots.
Be a part of that here up in the mountains in Jamaica.
Oh,
For sure.
nice.
Yeah.
I always I enjoy that. So
Yes, yes. But thank you so much for joining. We always finish up with one question that is hopefully, something of a bit of nutrition for our community. And that is, if you could give either one piece of advice or maybe a quote that, you have found to be very inspirational, anything like that, what advice would you give to a professional woman who is trying to navigate the demands of a career, maybe home life, family life, and maintain balance and self-care for herself?
yeah, we are doing all of the things, aren't we?
We are
Women are doing all of the things.
everything, girl.
Everything. I would say, going back to your worthiness, you are worthy.
Mm,
Accept yourself fully
mm.
for the things that are great about you and the things that are not so great that you're working on.
Yep.
Fully accept yourself. Being able to set boundaries, I think, is key, but you can't do it unless you're clear about the fact that you are important, you are worthy of that time and space so that you can show up for other people.
Yeah. No, that's good. I am worthy. You know how long it took me to step into worthiness? My
Mm,
gosh. Like just a couple years ago, like literally step into it and own it and stand in it. And it's attached to everything. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
the
You are
core,
worthy.
the
Yeah.
core.
No, that's excellent. All right, ladies, I hope you were able to get a lot out of my conversation with Ty today. I sure did. After this, I do reflections. I actually do reflections on each of my interviews where I just talk about the gems that I pull out of the conversation, and I share that separately. So when your episode is shared, we'll also have the gems to share that will be nicely packaged. So thank you for spending time with us, Ty, and for sharing just, your energy. You have such a nice energy about you, so
Thanks for
thank you
having me back at you.
for opening up and being in vulnerable space with us. So thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
Okay. All right, ladies. So thanks for joining another episode of the Balanced Lady Boss Show. And you heard right. We are actively planning a retreat for 2021 Q4. So you can start to mark your calendar. Just block out October and November now until we figure out the date. But thanks for listening and for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, another episode of the Balanced Lady Boss Show. And I will see you soon for another epic conversation.